Okay, so we didn't really have time to go into a more in-depth demo live, but I really wanted to take some time to show you guys how to set up and get started with Prettier, which is a JavaScript and TypeScript formatter, probably the most popular auto formatter out, and you'd be surprised just how easy it is to get started with this. There's three ways you can use this. You can either use it in editor. So VS Code has an extension that you can use to automatically format your code when you save it. You can also run Prettier from the command line, and that also means that you can run Prettier from a script. So we'll go ahead and demo all three of those right now, starting with from the editor, formatting it on save. So right here, I just have a very tiny JavaScript project. As you can see, I've got one code file. It's just a function here that is really long. As you can see, this has like 8 arguments in it, and it's hard to read because if I had multiple windows open, right, I would have to scroll horizontally to see everything. And we talked about earlier in the workshop how you can kind of fix this by moving each argument onto a separate line. And I could do that manually, but I'd rather have Prettier do that for me. So let's go ahead and show you how to get that. So and again, I'm doing this in VS Code. If you use a separate editor or IDE, it might be a bit different. In VS Code, I'm going to go to the extensions button right here, click that, and let's go ahead and search for Prettier. It should be the first thing that pops up, and just hit install. I already have it installed. And once that has installed, what you're going to need to do next is go to your VS Code settings. This is in something called settings JSON. So if you type up here, you might be able to find it. Another shortcut you can use is Control-Shift-P. It might be Command-Shift-P on Mac. And you should be able to search for user settings. So preferences, open user settings, and you can go ahead and open that, and it'll take you to a file called settings.json. Now, if you're not too familiar with VS Code, settings.json is basically just a file where you can store all sorts of custom settings that you use in your VS Code. So what we're gonna do to enable Prettier is, let me see, right up here. So there are two settings that you're going to need to add to your settings.json. First is right here, editor.format on save. So the key for this is going to be editor.format on save, and you want to set the value to true. And once that is enabled, VS Code is automatically going to run the auto formatter on a file whenever you save it. But it also has to know which formatter to use, and that's going to depend based on the language. So right here under JavaScript, as you can see, I've got JavaScript language specific settings, and I'm going to go ahead and add editor.default formatter right here, and the value is going to be esbenp.prettier-vs code, and so VS Code will read this value here and know to use Prettier to format your code. So now I'm going to save that, and let's come back to our file right here. So we can see a lot of arguments. We want to break them up onto different lines. I'm going to hit Control-S to save it, and it formats it for me, and that's all I have to do. So now you can make any change you want. If I go and do that again, it's automatically done for me. So that is arguably the easiest way to use Prettier format on save. I'm going to comment that out again so we can demonstrate the other ways, because you can also do this through the command line. So let's go ahead and show you how to do that. So I'm going to there's a few different ways you can install the command line version of Prettier. I'm going to install it with npm. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with JavaScript development, npm is a package manager, which allows you to manage JavaScript projects and download libraries. It's kind of like pip for Python if you've used that. I have already made a package.json file for this project. It's something that you need for any npm projects. You can just type in npm init in your command line to create a package.json file for your JavaScript project. And once you've done that, you can go ahead and type in this command, npm install -g Prettier. And so you can go ahead and run that. And what this is going to do is install a Prettier globally across all of your npm projects. Now for me it says change because I have it installed already. And now if we want to go ahead and apply Prettier to all the files in our project, so we'll go ahead and type in Prettier dot. Dot means the current directory, and then -- right, and we'll run that. And as we can see, it just formatted our code for us. So yeah, you can run this from the command line too. And because we can run this as a command, we can also run this as a script, right? So there are a few ways you might want to do this. One thing that some people might do, this is more JavaScript specific, but npm allows you to create various scripts for your project. As you can see, like start will run our program, test will run any unit tests you might have. I'm going to create my own script here called format. So I'll write format, and then we put the command here. So I'm going to put Prettier dot -- right, and that will format everything in our project. So let's save that. Let's bring this back here. And so now what I'm going to do is I can come to the command line and type in npm run format. And it's going to run Prettier for me. And I just realized I didn't catch that on screen. So let me do that one more time. npm run format. It's going to run Prettier. And as you can see, the code was just formatted again. So that's another way that you can do it. And again, this npm is specific for JavaScript projects. Whatever package manager you use for your language might have settings like this. Another one last really specific example that I want to show is how to do a pre-commit script. So for those of you guys who have used Git, which I'm assuming is pretty much all of you, in industry, that's the way, it's industry standard for sharing your code with your team. And you can run a script basically that automatically formats your code before you make a commit in Git, meaning that before any code goes up to code review, it's guaranteed to be formatted unless you overwrite it, which we won't get into now. So we're going to show you how to make that pre-commit script real quickly. So first things first, I need to make a Git repository for this project. So I'm just going to type in git init. And then I'm also just going to make a quick git ignore, because I don't want my node modules node modules folder to be committed. Again, that's another specific JavaScript thing. And if you're curious about learning more about Node and NPM and JavaScript stuff, check out our 2-part JavaScript workshop on our YouTube channel. So now we've got a Git repo. We want to add a pre-commit script. So it's actually inside a hidden folder called .git, and you can't see it from here because it's hidden. So there's a few ways to find hidden folders. On Windows, what you can do is open up your folder in File Explorer. So you can right click from right here in code, hit reveal in File Explorer. And if you want to see the hidden files, what you'll need to do is come over to View, and then check the hidden items box, and you'll see a folder that says .git. So now we can come in here, and we've got several things. You don't want to mess with most of these because this info is how like Git stores your commit history. But we're going to come into the hooks folder, and we are going to, let's see, we are going to just open this. We have a sample file that is provided to us called pre-commit, and pre-commit is run every time before you commit your code changes. So I'm going to right click and hit open with code. If you don't have the open with code shortcut, you can just hit open with, and VS Code should be one of the first options that comes up. And as you can see, we can now see that hidden folder. So this is an example of like a script that you could run on pre-commit. I'm going to go ahead and create a new file in this folder, and we're going to just call it pre-commit. And so now to run our formatter as soon as we commit our code, we need to type in this here. So the bin/sh, this lets Git know to use a shell script for this, because Git, it was originally developed with like Mac and Linux systems in mind. For all my other Windows users, you might have noticed when you installed Git that you had something called Git Bash that looks like a Linux terminal. So make sure that this is the first line of your pre-commit file. And then once you've done that, you can just go ahead and type in the command for whatever script you want to run. You can also put individual commands here. So I'm going to hit npm run format. I do recommend putting moving like your actual code, your actual script into like a different file that you know is going to work on both like Mac and PC if you're not sure. This might not be as much of a problem in like a company because typically you'll have all of your developers like using a Mac or all of them using a PC on a team. But that is just something to be aware of. So we have our pre-commit script now, so go ahead, save that, npm run format. Now let's come back to our main.js. Now what we are going to do is quickly commit this to Git. So I'm going to first do git add to add our files, and then let's go commit that. So message first commit. And as we can see now, it is going to run Prettier. And as you can see, it just formatted our code for us as soon as we committed it. And yeah, so that is one really useful way to automatically have your formatter run. You can also attach this to any kind of script that you want. So if you have, you know, I've seen some people have basically a script that checked the code in different ways, such as running unit tests and also checking formatting, and they would put the command to run Prettier in there. So that's another way you can do it. Possibilities are endless, and that's pretty much it for this demo. So you know, just to go over, you can run your formatter on save, you can run it from a command line or put it in a script. And hopefully if you see this at your internship, you'll know what's going on. And this might even be really useful to use in your own projects. And I have used it in my own personal JavaScript and TypeScript projects for pretty much since after my first internship. So yeah, y'all have a good one.